Marcus sat down in the maximum security prison's execution cell and let out a frustrated sigh. Today had been going so well, he was finally going to ask his girlfriend to marry him. "No, I suppose I'll have to push it off to next week," he mutters to himself as he adjusted his tie as the sounds of chains approached the other door. Finally asking that mate of yours to marry you. Yeah, go get her?" Marcus's internal thoughts were interrupted by Algeth the Vinom standing behind him to his right. The Vinom was a tall species, almost great ape-like in appearance, but with compound eyes and a rather long and impressive tail. Marcus turned around in the chair to face Algeth, his shielded helmet's chrome visor reflecting the other mammalion's face back at him. Al, today was the day, man. But the damn RNG calendar had to destroy my chances. It just had to pick today. Algeth let out what was his species' way of laughing. "Ask her afterwards. I'm sure a strong-minded man like you would produce the strongest of offerings and offspring," he said, trying to reassure his colleague. There came a sound of rubber tunes hitting the floor in rapid succession as another co-worker of theirs, Falthnish, came in, propelled by his many tentacles. His species was called the Ranash, but most humans just referred to them as the Spacopi because of the resemblance to squids and octopuses of Earth. Falthnish waved 3 of his 28 tentacles in a polite manner as he and Al exchanged glances. Marcus stated, "Well, don't leave me out of the conversation. Not all of us can use telepathy in a controlled manner, Fall." Small speakers on Fall's neck started translating his thoughts aloud. "Good morning, human Marcus. Pardon me, I keep forgetting about that. I have brought you some snacks for work today," he says, as he lifts up a dull metallic suitcase and hands it to Marcus. Marcus took it with a smile hidden under his helmet. "Thanks, bud. Sorry if I came off as rude." Fall made a noise that the translator equated a nonchalant noise to brush off nonsensical statements made. No, it was I who was in the wrong," he said. "Attention, scheduled execution at 3:30 today will happen in 15 minutes. Please make your way to the shielded viewing room." A friendly-sounding voice played over the speaker translated on everyone's devices. Marcus turned and faced the metallic case on the table and moved it to the side, adjusting his tie as he stood up next to the table, pushing the chair in. It was proper etiquette to keep an execution room looking as nice as possible. Marcus could see through the one-way glass shaped of the soon-to-be-departed family and family of the victims make their way into the sitting area, including the sole survivor that was all over the news. It looked like his cuts had healed nicely as far as he could tell, not being an expert in alien biology. On the other side of the room at the opposite door, the sounds of chains rattling as the soon-to-be-departed approached. A Zeethal, a reptoid species similar to Komodo dragons in appearance, if they had a more omnivorous diet and had a humanoid shape to them with 2 long, powerful tails, and could project their thoughts in a psychological attack. 3 of these lizards entered the room, one in the orange jumpsuit of the prison flanked by 1 member of the guard and a member of their government tasked with conducting the execution. A helmet on his head similar to the human-made design but without the faceplate, bright orange and reading "Prisoner 1,423 inches" on its side and forehead. Marcus stood at the ready by the metal table prepared to begin the execution sentence mandated by the Zeethal and the Galactic Council of Species. Dark Knuckle. The member of government spoke as the guard strapped the prisoner to the table and chair restraints. "You have been sentenced to execution by your government with the approval of the Galactic Council of Species." He then turns to Marcus. "This is your executioner, Marcus. You have been sentenced to death by humanity." With this said, all members of staff and the officials from the departed governments donned their helmets. With that, the helm of the prisoner was removed. Dark smiled as it was removed, as it was clear he was immediately trying to send psychic signals to everyone in the room. Marcus, of course, couldn't hear anything. As he himself sat down and clicked the lock seal on his helm, a small warning beep occurred as he did. Warning, be advised, psychic radiation seal broken. It chirped as he set it down on the table and smiled up at his new conversation partner. Hello, my name is Marcus. I would like to talk to you this evening. How are you? The otherwise cool and smug Zethal seemed to tense up immediately at the exchange. The translator indicated a change in expression to nervousness. "Woo, what is this?" Dark asked as his eyes seemed to narrow. Marcus had seen enough psychic attacks in his line of work to know of an attempted attack. "It's your final interview, buddy. Talk to me, ask me questions, want to claim any last words." Marcus knew this was a violent murderer, but at least he could is polite for the family's sake. Each word spoken hit the alien like a bus full of people, which, from interviews from victims' families, is very satisfying to watch for the most violent of offenders. While he spoke, he opened the briefcase, and inside was a human-made energy drink called Red Monster, and several bars of human-made chocolate. He cracked open the drink and took a small sip. No way, what is this? You're going to talk me to death?" Dark asked, seeming to struggle with something. "Oh, right. I forgot you have been in hiding. You must have missed the first contact of humanity. Well, I won't bore you with all the details. But you know how all species normally communicate with psychic signals and rarely spoken word." The lizard coughs violently and shakes his head before responding. "Yes, why do?" he stammered. "I not communicate the same way. Well, we don't, but we do emit psychic signals, though we emit enough that it's hazardous to be around humans without proper safety equipment. We're like walking bombs, dirty bombs full of nasty radiation of thought." Marcus opened one of the bars of candy he had and took a large bite and chewed as he thought about what topic to talk about. The lizard seemed stunned, but gave him a murderous look. "Whoa, why can't I hurt you?" he seemed to growl. "We are immune from receiving any sort of signal. I'm sorry you had to find out this way. It also gets worse," he says as he takes another gulp of his drink. "US humans have special thinking disorders sometimes. I, in particular, have what is called ADHD. It stands for Attention Deficit Hyperactivity Disorder. Basically, my brain never stops thinking at all. You probably can feel it, all the thoughts, the constant details outpouring from my head." The lizard coughed again as a bit of blood came out and landed on the table. "The helmets are pretty interesting. You might have noticed mine is similar to yours. Well, to prevent what is happening to you right now, humanity found that a lightweight alloy of a rare mineral from Australia or something makes for the perfect mental wave blocker. Combine that with the fact they function like space helmets and communication devices, and you got yourself some pretty awesome safety equipment." Marcus laughed a little as he tore into his second candy bar. "But enough about humanity. Have you ever heard of an aglet? It's the little plastic thing that goes on the end of shoelaces, so the laces don't fray. That reminds me, the fray is another term for going into battle. Oh, humanity hasn't had a word war since about 29 years ago, but of course, every time we have one, it's an all-out arms race resulting in a boom of technological wonder." Marcus started to rant on and on. The lizard twitched and coughed up more blood as he pulled on the restraints. The waves, it was like a lighthouse of psychic signals hitting him like a tsunami over and over and over again non-stop. Marcus could see Drac was struggling to cling on. "I myself thought this job was a bit morbid when I started, but I think we can all appreciate it. No shocking, no poison, no guns, just a good old-fashioned conversation. It's overwhelming. The pressure," Dark struggled to say as his eyes started to bleed as well as if he were crying blood. "Now is the time, Dark. What are your last words? Anything to say? An apology, perhaps?" Marcus had to admit the last question was a bit rude, but he figured it was better than blatant accusations and condemning the soon-departed. No, they all deserved it. They had it coming. I won't. I won't. He yelled, blood dripping from his mouth as Marcus finished his drink and sighed. Dark Knuckle of the Zeethal, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Make peace with your god of choice. Goodbye, he said as he stood up. The lizard convulsed and thrashed a bit as his brain practically melted in his skull. By the time Marcus clicked his own helmet back into place and cleaned up the snack trash back into the suitcase, Dark Knuckle of the Zeethal was wherever Zeethal believed they went when they died. Marcus turned to the viewing window and bowed deeply. My apologies to the victims' families and my condolences for the departed. Thank you for being here, he said before he straightened up as the disposal team came in to remove the corpse. Marcus left the room and tried to smile beneath his faceplate. Damn, I'll have to wait another week before I can feel better enough to ask her, he grumbled as he went off to devour his lunch. Well, that was certainly an execution. Our protagonist Marcus had his romantic proposal plans rudely interrupted by work, but he handled it with aplomb. Though I must say his nonchalant attitude towards taking a life was a bit alarming, casually snacking on candy bars while psychically microwaving someone's brain, stone cold. I'd hate to be on his bad side. But I did enjoy the juxtaposition of discussing the minutiae of shoelace aglets alongside the grisly details of melting a creature's gray matter. Nothing like pondering product design trivia as bloody plasma leaks from someone's eyes. The ADHD-fueled ramblings were a delightfully absurd touch, and using weaponized small talk as an execution method? Devious. Though I'd think most prisoners would prefer a quick bullet to the brain over an agonizing psychic death by endless chit-chat. Marcus seems almost disappointed about having to postpone his proposal due to this chore. At least he was polite enough to make pleasantries with the family and victims first. Gotta mind those manners when exploding people's heads for a paycheck. All in all, a wryly humorous take on a grim profession. Here's hoping Marcus can reschedule his romantic plans after he power scrubs the visceral bits off his armor. Maybe his girlfriend will find his nonchalant attitude towards violence endearing. Ah, love and brain juice. Such a cute couple.